or they can work with airlines, or they can work just about in a prison, anywhere they're needed to advise on what foods will work better with different prisoners, or on a flight, or wherever you are. A dietitian's hat allows you to work in a hospital environment, which means you are trained with medical doctors, so you're allowed to understand a lot of the terminologies that we use in a hospital environment. You're also able to not just provide advice for the oral diet, so you can advise someone on a low potassium diet or a high fiber diet. However, you can actually go in ITU where people do not communicate with you, and you can still keep them alive through NG tube feeds, through which is nasogastric. You can also keep them alive through pegs, which is inserted percutaneously, and also we can get involved with TPN. A lot of people who do not understand what TPN is, it simply means we keep people alive by feeding them through the big veins so that they can get their nutrition and keep them alive until they can move on to maybe nasal or PEG and then an oral diet. So we actually upgrade or we can downgrade them to keep them alive until they can eat orally. So that's the role of a dietitian. We actually do a lot where we can move from ITU to HDU to a normal ward. Okay? Is that giving you a better understanding of what we do?
Yeah.
Okay. So today, we're in the hat of a nutritionist. And so we're going to be talking about healthy eating. And healthy eating is really a health race. If you think about a health race, the healthier we are is the longer we take to get to the finish line where we sometimes die. If we do not eat healthily because we have a poor understanding of what we should be doing, we tend to get to the finish line a lot faster. To meet that greater a lot faster. Knowledge is power. I believe Kurt said that at his last talk. Knowledge is power. So I will do Phyllis, I need your help here.
To the side. To the side is on.
It's on?
Switch on the side, yeah. Switch it on.
Okay. Okay. So no doubt we all know about a lot of the foods that we need to include in our diet to stay healthy. I'm starting with the importance of knowing more about fruits and vegetables. Because how much do we really know? When we end up with chronic diseases, a lot of us can't enjoy the fruits and vegetables that we do now because these foods are usually limited. So your body, unfortunately, can't get to have this intake as we would now when we're healthy and strong. As we get older and we have chronic illnesses, what do you think I mean by chronic illnesses? The younger people. What do you think I mean by chronic illnesses? Chronic illnesses. Diabetes is one. What else? Kidney failure is another. Anybody else? People who have conditions like diverticular disease. Some people who end up with Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, that's a problem with the gut, large intestine. Some are actually small intestine. You can't absorb as well, and some of them cause further problems. So while we are healthy and strong, we do recommend that you know a little bit more about enjoying your fruits and vegetables. Reasons why we should eat vegetables every day. I can't even see what's on there. Is it possible to get
turn off that
the lights?
Sorry, this one. Not the other one. First one. That's it.
Thank you. Can you all see what's on there?
Yes,
No, I can. But it would have been nice if you could see as well. Okay, it says that 5 good reasons to eat at least 5 portions of fruit and veg every day. 1, they taste and add different colors. That's what you need to embrace and get your children to embrace as well. Flavors and textures to meals and snacks. A lot of people don't realize that you can have vegetables as snacks, not just fruit, but also vegetables as snacks. The other is what's happening? Okay, they are packed full of vitamins and minerals which are vital to health. Okay, only when we have people in hospital that sometimes they realize the importance of vitamins and minerals, which should come from their diet. Unfortunately, we have to pump it into them through other means, again, nasogastric, PEG when they become unwell. And you know what I find to be interesting is that one day a patient said to me, I wish I could taste my food. She never realized the importance of enjoying these things, and now she's chronically ill. She said to me she wished she could taste what real food tastes like again. So it's really important that we know the blessings of having these things in our diet. They're great providers of dietary fiber. For all of us who are health conscious, they're low in fat, they're low in calories as well. And eating plenty helps to fill you up and keep your weight in check. They're also our main source of antioxidants. Do we know what that is? Okay, so these good guys help protect the body from diseases. That's what it does.
So what are antioxidants?
They come from mostly your fruit and vegetables, and they actually help your body to fight off diseases. It helps to fight the free radicals which you get from smoking or pollution or anything that enters your body that's foreign. It helps as the good soldiers to fight them off. Okay? And it's also very beneficial to prevent coronary artery disease. Okay? It says the good news, we just talked about fruits and vegetables are important in that, and they help to protect you from disease. And one outstanding disease is cancer. This is very important, and heart problems. So when we have patients and we need to supplement them, we have to work out their requirements as dietitians in a hospital, and we need to supply them with the requirements that they need as they go through their chronic stage. As you know, people when they're unwell, they go from like stage 1 to stage 2 and then stage 3. So as dietitians, we know what stage to intervene with certain methods of treatment. Okay, so it says these are produced during normal bodily processes. Again, these are free radicals, which again, the body is not happy to see. And so they can be increased, like I said, through cigarette smoking and through pollution. So we have here what portions are in terms of portion size. Examples of the amount of fruit or vegetables we have. Do we know what a portion looks like? If I was to say to Katie, you're doing O-levels now, do you know what a portion looks like, say, in an apple? What would a portion size look like? Do you think you might? The size of your palm. So you should have learned that at school. It is the size of your palm. As dietitians, we can actually look at a portion and know it as a portion because our eyes have to be trained to do that. However, for someone in a clinic setting, if we have to explain to them, we would say an 80-gram apple, which sits in the palm of your hand, is a portion. So when we say aim for 5 portions of fruit and veg a day, we're talking the weight of an 80-gram fruit, as well as, so if you aim for 2 pieces of fruit a day and 3 portions of veg, or if you want to aim for 3 portions of fruit and 2 portions of veg, that is how you meet your 8 portions a day for your fiber intake.
5 a day.
5 a day.
Sorry, 5 a day.
5 a day.
So if you eat excessively, is that
It's alright, the more the better.
The more, the better. However, you all have to remember that we should have checks done annually. And what do I mean by that? People who are predisposed to cancer, we don't push a lot of fruits because cancer loves sugar. And so you do not want to allow or push a lot of sugar because it allows the cancer to grow too quickly. You don't want to push too much sugar either through even fruits. If you have pre-diabetes, you would probably know what pre means. Pre means before the onset. So pre-diabetes would mean if you have blood glucose levels running at about 6 point something, we put you in that category where you're becoming a pre-diabetic, just before you're officially diagnosed. So if you're pushing a lot of fruits, thinking you're doing the right thing, all you've done is pushed yourself further into having diabetes. Because don't forget, your insulin has become, the organ pancreas has become a very lazy organ. And so for it to push the amount of insulin out every time sugar levels rise in the blood, unfortunately because it's so lazy, it's only pushing out what it feels like. So it's not giving you the full amount of insulin. So this is where we have a problem. So we have more sugar in the bloodstream than the amount that should be there. So yes, we do tell you to get excited and have a lot of fruit. People who, on the other hand, who have high blood pressure, we push a lot of fruits because potassium is in the fruits. Potassium is in your tablets when the doctors prescribe it. So it's a safer way. Instead of the doctors giving you tablets, we say start off with the diet where we're giving you a lot of fruits because it has potassium in it. And a lot of the medications that doctors prescribe is potassium sparing. So this is where we need to make sure you're eating a lot of fruits and veg so we can get your blood pressure under control without having to take tablets. If that doesn't work, then unfortunately we have to go to first-line treatment of medication. Okay, so yes, it's good. Once your medical history is clean, then it's okay to do that. Right, so again, these are just giving you ideas of what portions look like. Say if it's a large fruit, for example, melon or pineapple, a slice, one large slice would be a portion. Now I found a lot of people are gearing towards fruit juice as a portion of fruit. That in itself is not a good idea because think about fruit juice. When we actually get our fruit juices, what do we do? What do you think allows the sugar to turn over very slowly in the body? What do you think is helping to support that? It is the fiber in the fruit that holds the sugar and allows it to be released very, very slowly into the bloodstream. So the bright individuals who decide to remove the fiber from the fruit and just end up with the fluid called the juice is unfortunately doing themselves. Yes, because they are not actually benefiting. So we do agree that you can get some fiber from your fruit juice, but we recommend 150 ml, which is a small glass. And that way, do you think you should drink it straight on an empty stomach? Why? Yeah, you can dilute it, and that's a very good idea. You can dilute it, but what else do you think is going to happen if you just get the juice?
The sugar
In the juice, yes. Okay, so you're more or less answering, but what is actually happening? In less than 5 minutes, the sugar in that juice, which is similar to sugar in other things, is going to hit your bloodstream in less than 5 minutes, in less than 3 minutes. So it's very quick, the response is quick. So if you think about it, for persons who are diabetics, it tells you how quickly that sugar hits the bloodstream. Because if we had someone in here who was having a hypo, you know what I mean by having a hypo? It means your blood sugar levels drop so low because of the tablets you're on or because of the insulin that you're taking. If that person collapsed, I would expect Kirk or any nurse in here to run with something sweet. That's going to hit the bloodstream in less than a minute. And a good example of that is pure fruit juice. Okay? So that tells you how quick it hits the bloodstream. So that is why we would recommend even people who do not have diabetes to have it on a regular basis and count it as one of the fruit portions. Okay? You're not only pushing your levels up for your blood glucose, but if you're on the rounder side, that means you're overweight, you cannot burn that sugar in less than a minute. So that's why we don't recommend that you eat much of that, okay? Yes?
My question is two things. Are vegetables and fruits frozen just as good as natural ones? And number two, what about those people like all Jamaicans in here who love their mangoes, who eat 20 mangoes in one go? Is that good for you?
Well, well, let me answer the first question first. Kurt wanted to know if the frozen fruits and veg are just as good. Nothing is just as good as fresh fruits. However, to get a balance in a country like the UK, where we hardly get fresh things, in comparison to tinned and fruits and veg that are in some kind of container and plastic, it is far better and healthier for you to have that as opposed to having the canned. Okay, that's the first question.
So, what about the kidney beans and tin?
Okay, like I said, Auntie, the fresh is the best.
Okay.
And in this country, we can still get fresh beans. So anything in a tin. And the reason why that's close to my heart is because I work as a renal specialist, advanced dietitian. And a lot of my patients are young. And I get young people from 19 upwards that have dialysis. And a lot of them were diagnosed with high blood pressure from an early age. And do you know why? Because of how they're brought up. Fish and chips with the salt. And it so happened that a lot of them go home to tinned baked beans and tinned veg. Everything comes out of a tin. And I remember hearing a young lady when I told her that I was her dietitian. She couldn't help it. She was crying and crying. And why didn't I get a dietitian before? Why did I have to end up in this state before I got the referral for dietitian? And that is why one of my aims is to go out and do a lot of field work in the community to help our young people recognize the dangers of their future in terms of their health. Because a lot of people have no idea in the tinned and processed foods how much salt is in it. They're actually trying to feed a nation, but at a poor quality. And that is why it's important that if you can, go down the market, go into shops, and buy fresh foods. Okay? That was...
would you say...
Mangoes.
Yes?
Would you say that blending fruit and some fruit and some vegetables with a little water, maybe a little honey or whatever, is better than juicing it and drinking the juice strong?
Okay, another important thing I need to mention here. When I give an advice, it's general today. However, we do not advise people generally a lot of the times when you're together, because we need to look at your medical history. We need to check everything about you before we can advise on anything. However, Auntie, because I don't know the ins and outs, you mentioned honey. I don't know if you're pre-diabetic. And if you're juicing, again, it's okay to juice vegetables. But when you're adding a lot of fruit to it, we have to be very careful. Because don't forget, we've just lost the best part of the fruit. The pulp and the pips and everything. And we're throwing the sugar at you, as opposed to you having sugar that's going to turn over in your bloodstream very slowly.
what I mean to say is, when you blend and you have the thickness and everything in it.
No, it doesn't mean anything to us. As long as you've lost the pips and the pulp, you've lost.
That is in it. That is in it. When
You
blend,
keep the pulp?
Yeah, when you blend it.
Well, that's actually better, but we do prefer for it to be raw as it was made on the tree.
To eat like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, because the transition is a lot faster going into the bloodstream. Okay, with Kirk's question, I need to mention that mangoes, we all love, a lot of us love mangoes. It's okay to have, again, a slice of mango.
One slice?
A large slice. But again, Pastor, again, depending on your family, your medical history, we cannot advise everybody here that you can eat as much mangoes, because there might be people here who are pre-diabetics, or people here who are diabetics but never said to us that they're diabetic. We do not want them walking through the door thinking they can have as much mango. So what we do recommend, if you do have mango, enjoy your mango after you've had a meal. Because once you've had a meal, it takes 2, maximum 3 hours or so to be digested by the gut. So if you were to eat first and that sugar from the mango was to go down, you will find that, what? It cannot get past the food to get into the bloodstream. So what happened? The transition is a lot slower. So at the end of the day, you can enjoy your mango that way. But as you know, in the Caribbean, we can eat mango for breakfast on an empty stomach, at lunchtime, or anywhere, we just eat it. But it is not the way to do it. And that's why it's all about educating people. There isn't anything that you can't enjoy, it's just knowing how to do it. Okay? Okay.
First thing in the morning.
And just for you to know, it's not that clear on here, but potatoes do not count as a vegetable. The humble potato does not count as a vegetable, it is a starchy food.
The sweet potato or the older
They're not counted as vegetables, they're counted as starchy food. Yes, Eddie? Yes, Eddie?
Yeah, something happened to me the other day really confused me because I went to the hospital for a general check up, and they checked my blood sugar level, and they were surprised. I was paying from dizzy, from headache. It was 2.7.
That was low.
That's low.
That's
and
very low.
I said, I don't feel as strong as a lion, you know, feeling. I haven't got diabetes, so that's really confusing. So they won't let me go. So I went to the cafeteria and one chocolate, a big slice of cake.
Yeah.
And about 20 minutes, half an hour, went back and it was okay.
Yeah, it would be because the rush of sugar from the cake and whatever you just ate.
Just wondering if I'm
You need some micros.
That I wouldn't be able to answer. Some people do have reactive hypoglycemia. So if you take long to eat your breakfast or your lunch, you can go in a form of hypo because you have reactive hypoglycemia.
I did it at night.
You didn't eat anything in the morning? Well, that explains it. That explains it.
I think, not cross you, but I think you need to be tested for diabetes.
Yeah, because
the average person never goes that low.
no.
Because the body has a mechanism to counteract that. So your blood glucose should never
And
rise.
mine is 5. Mine is 5.
5 is normal.
5 is normal, so you're good.
Okay. So people who like to have supplements, I mean vitamin supplements, just bear in mind that half the time the manufacturers are winning because they're selling these things to you, but you really don't absorb half of it. Okay? So all these lovely vitamin supplements, individuals who enjoy taking supplements, you're better off having the real thing as opposed to popping those pills. So the manufacturers are really doing well from your pockets.
But some of the doctors are not speaking the truth, because sometimes they will tell you that the body doesn't know the difference between fruit and
Do you know, Pastor, that a lot of... Sorry, Karen. But do you know that a lot of the doctors get a little cut of something when they do prescriptions, Pastor? They get lots of privileges, Pastor. And I have experienced a lot of that in Jamaica because they took us on so much symposiums and trips and conferences. We could go anywhere, anytime because we were recommending their stuff to the patients. So I have lived it, Pastor. They take you out and they look after you. Okay. Another thing a lot of us as women go through is the problem with anemia. It's really important that if you suffer from really severe anemia, do not rely on just your diet.
So, what is that?
Oh, anemia means when your hemoglobin is those red blood cells that carry the oxygen around your body to keep your heart going and everything to be alive. When that level drops too low, and women who, we're all old here, who menstruate or people who lose a lot of blood for whatever reason, they tend to, normally we wouldn't just recommend that they have just the diet alone. They will need to be supplemented. But then the doctors will know what supplements to be prescribed. Some drugs are tailored just to help you. Okay? But the ones over the counter, you and I could make a good business out of that. We would sell to a lot of people every day. It would sell, but they have controlled drugs, as you know, that is tailored to help you if you have some types of anemia. Okay?
I was told that I have anemia.
Yes.
And I must eat red meat.
Nothing wrong with it.
There must be something I can have other than red meat.
Did you get a prescription?
No.
Okay. So you couldn't be that anemic, Auntie, because
At the moment, my blood, everything is fine, but I'm anemic.
maybe just borderline or so. Because if you were that anemic, you would have to be on a prescribed drug.
Oh.
Okay? They're telling you to have red meat because that's what the recommendation is. But I, as a Christian, I don't recommend people to have red meat, to be honest. I don't. I always shy away from that one. I shy away. I get paid to tell people to have red meat, but I don't always tell them that. And again, folic acid is another exception to the rule. Folic acid, because a lot of our pregnant women will need folic acid in order to prevent their babies from getting birth defects, which is spina bifida. So that's important that they actually supplement their diet as well. Okay?
In what foods could you get that from naturally?
What's that? Iron?
Folic
Folic acid. Again, it's dark leafy vegetables, dark green leafy vegetables, mostly. Yes.
Spinach and broccoli.
Right, just to make mention that there are two different types of fiber. We have the soluble and the insoluble fiber. The insoluble fiber is what we do need in our bodies. As we eat, we have our whole meal or whole grain foods, brown rice, brown pasta. Different whole grain foods have insoluble fiber. And again, your veg would actually have the same. This insoluble fiber is very important because it helps to bulk your stools. It helps to bulk your stools. And it passes through half the time undigested, just so you can have good bowel movements. So you do need to have insoluble fiber. On the other hand, soluble fiber is actually part and parcel of helping people to control their cholesterol levels. When I did my session here with the health day, a lot of people sent thank you for that I helped them to get their cholesterol levels down. And that's because all I did was, I don't physically prescribe on a prescription, but I wrote it down as though I was prescribing how they needed to take the oats and the other soluble fiber which comes from your legumes and beans, because oats sits at the top with helping to get your levels down. And what it does, once you've eaten it, it's the only food that can get into your bloodstream and clean the cholesterol out the blood.
With oats?
Oats.
Oats.
It goes in and it forms like a gel-like substance. And it actually, like a broom, it just cleans the blood for you and allow you to pass it out when you go to the toilet.
I have been praying for those who cannot go. One or two.
Yeah.
One or two.
Is it better to make your oats with water, or is it okay to make it with
Like if you have almond milk or cashew milk or any milk from nuts, then yes, it's absolutely fine. But I would recommend that our church and our visitors here try having oats at least once a day. For those, yes, because it's amazing the results from oats. It's not just to do with cholesterol, it's everything else in the body like cancers and things that your body needs that help with. The good thing about oats as well is that a lot of people are not intolerant to oats. You know, with wheat, some people say they can't have it because it causes tummy problems, especially with IBS and IBD and diverticular disease. All those UC, which is ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, a lot of people can tolerate oats. A lot of them can't tolerate anything else.
So oats, can you have it like in granola or just the natural stuff? Because some of the natural stuff is slimy. I hate natural stuff. I'd rather having granola form.
You can, but if I do recommend it, I try to get people to tolerate it as much as possible naturally, because that's how it works miracles for you. Okay. You can all see the recommendations here for fiber intake per day. For a 2 to 5 year old, it's 15 grams a day. 5 to 11 year olds is 20 grams a day. 11 to 16 year olds, it's 25 grams a day. 16 to 18 and older, it's 30 grams a day we should be aiming for. Okay? And how can we reach our 30 grams per day? You can achieve this through types of bread that you choose to have. We still have a few people who like their white bread, but choosing to have maybe granary bread will give you that bit more. Weetabix muesli, pearl barley is fantastic. Pulses, soya beans, fruits, and again, vegetables. We can't stress how important it is to keep up with your 5-a-day fruits and veg. As you can see, I did a little swap here. Cornflakes, 30 grams is a portion. You swap it with a muesli, you get in more fiber. Basmati rice, if you swapped it with pearl barley, more fiber. Crisps, compared to hazelnuts, you're getting more fiber. So our crisp lovers, maybe go for nuts as opposed to the crisp on a regular basis. And again, white bread versus granary bread. Okay. And benefits of dietary fiber, we know, right? Don't we? Avoiding constipation. Again, this goes hand in hand with good fluid intake. And do we know how much fluid we need to have?
At least 8 glasses.
At least 8 glasses or 2 liters per day. Okay, yes, Karen?
Going back to the muesli.
Yeah.
Now, muesli contains dried fruits,
Mm-hmm.
and on the pack, the sugars that is displayed is quite high. And now some people will say that, you shouldn't buy the muesli because it's got too much sugar. But then the sugars are coming from the dried fruits, which is actually good for you. So, is it good or not?
We recommend dried fruits. You know why? It may taste sweet, but when you actually ingest that, it doesn't allow your blood sugars to rise, to spike. It's like the waves of the sea. It turns it over so slow. Do you know why? Because the skin of your dried fruits are very thick and rough. So by the time the acid in your stomach tries to break it down, it's going to take a long time to actually get it broken down. Whereas the cereal that you're eating with it would have been breaking down faster.
So the sugar that's displayed on the box.
On the box.
Is that the sugar that's actually coming from the fruit?
it is the sugar that's coming from the fruit.
Yeah.
Again, how we do advise, if it's a person with diabetes, we look at their history. We look at their history for the diet, and if their blood sugars are fine, we do not recommend that they reduce it. We leave them on it. However, if their blood sugars are running a little bit out of line, we say, well, maybe not have this portion, a bit smaller, and try have a protein-based food to go with it to fill you up.
Because I have the same problem with patients who come to see me, who will say, oh, you know, I don't eat this and I don't eat that because it contains sugar, and I'll ask, well, what form of sugar is it? You know, where is the sugar coming from? Then they'll say, oh, it's coming from their cereal or, you know, from the dried fruits. And I say, well, those sugars are good.
That's right, absolutely.
You know,
So we need to look at the other parts of their diet.
People are not educated to understand the different types
Good
of
sugar.
sugars. So they just see sugar on the packet and then they're just thinking, right, stay away from that, I shouldn't eat that. But it's actually really good sugars.
We have to educate people to let them know that sugar is part of what
We do need sugar.
we need in our bodies. Because if you find somebody who doesn't have any form of sugar, they're not going to be with us for too long, are they? 'Cause then your brain, your body, the priority fuel is glucose. So you do need some sugar. But again, it's about the portion that you're having in your diet. Okay? So the heart, the brain, and the body needs that to work. Yes, Tony?
The question about the dried fruits.
Yes.
I don't think we're cautious, but a lot of them I see are preserved in soft dioxide. And I was wondering if that's is that a negative factor, is trying to steer clear of that, or is that not?
You stay clear of anything that's preserved. Anything that's preserved is not going to give you the goodness that you should be getting. Preserving is just to feed the nation. It's not quality of food anymore. It's just to feed a nation that's hungry. Okay.
Fred, would you say that if we get olives in oil or brine, is that good? Olives?
Olives in brine.
Brine. Salt.
Preserved in salt water.
Yeah.
Most olives are in salt water in it.
Oil.
Fresh.
Oil based.
Fresh auntie.
Fresh one.
Yeah, you know what brine means?
It's salt and water.
Brine.
You know what brine means?
Salt.
It's like 3 times, 4 times the amount of salt. So if you were to add a teaspoon of salt to the olives, they're probably adding 3 to 4 times the amount of salt to the olives, because it preserves it so they can keep it on the shelf so you can buy it in a year's time. That's what it means. So yes, the fresh would be better as opposed to brine. Okay, now water intake is important to me. As you know, I work with patients who have kidney failure. And as you know, your kidneys perform many functions, which you're all aware of by now. The most significant is that it filters the blood to make urine. Okay. Urine is important because it removes the waste products from your body in the process known as clearance. In other words, they are waste disposal technicians, okay, that clean your blood 35 times a day. Is it so hard in me recommending that you have at least 2 liters of water?
So when I'm running to the bathroom to do number 1, it's good.
It is good, auntie. And if you can't do it by running, the doctors will prescribe you something called diuretics, which as laymen we say water tablets. And that is what will keep you running to the toilet. So you can choose to run by drinking it, or for the doctors to give you a medication to help you to go. Yes, okay. Okay. So we do appreciate why we need to drink at least 2 liters of water, at least 2 liters of water per day. Okay. So there are different reasons for constipation. It's not just the fact that you're not opening your bowels because you're not having enough fiber and enough fluid. What could be some of the reasons? It could be family history. It's not just the fact that you know, it could be if you're drinking enough water, you're having enough dietary fiber. There are other reasons. Poor appetite. So it's lack of exercise. Remember, Jodie talked about exercise yesterday. If somebody is compacted and you're drinking enough water, eating, and it's still up there, not coming down, what do you think can get it down? Some movement of some form to pull it down. So gravity will have a pulling effect in getting your bowels to open. Okay? If it's untreated, you can be in a low mood or you could be very irritable. Have a sore bottom. Nobody wants to have that. Discomfort or pain throughout the day. Embarrassment, because you pass a lot of wind. And everybody can smell it, and it smells like you need to go to the toilet. And it causes a lot of tiredness and even soiling of and smearing of the underclothes that you have on. So it's better for you to try and eat as much fiber, drink as much fluid, and try not to get yourself constipated.
But when they gave you cocoa on that bone,
it does. It does. It does. But that's where, Auntie, if you get other things that influence you having, like, you know, people who are older as well, if you're bummed up with things like cocodamol, it is our duty to recommend that you go on an oral solution of laxative, not a tablet, because that is going to help you to soften the stools while you're taking the cocodamol. Okay? So bear that in mind. We probably won't get past most of what I had here for you, but I'll be wrapping up soon. The other component of the diet is your carbohydrates. So I'll just touch on that quite quickly. We know what our carbohydrates are, do we?
Yeah.
So I always say, whatever you put in your plate, you see the meat or the fish, and you have your veg, the missing part is your carbohydrate. So it's your dumpling, your yam, your potato, your cassava, your dasheen, your pasta, your spaghetti. It's all of those. Banana, green banana, it's all of those. It's important that, because to be honest with you, I have gone to the ward on ITU where I met a patient who cut out all the carbohydrates because they wanted to lose weight. And she was on our ITU. I read the notes and saw that she had cut out. She was only having protein and veg in her diet. She did lose the weight, but at a very high cost.
A lot of bodybuilders do that.
Completely. But then it's going to have a very bad impact on your kidneys and also your liver, because your liver can only excrete something like 21 grams of nitrogen per day maximum. So what's happening to the rest of by the way, nitrogen is the end product of protein. So if your body is only able to excrete a certain amount, then it means it's sitting in your blood about to kill you. That's what it means. Okay? Our bodies therefore need carbohydrate. As to the amount, that we have to limit ourselves. Yeah. For people with diabetes, for example, you can always see me afterwards because there's a lot of information on that. But we push the low GI diet at the moment. Low GI means it's a measurement or it's a scale that ranks the foods which are carbohydrate-based foods into two categories. One, where the carbohydrate breaks down very quickly into sugar and it hits the bloodstream in less than 3 minutes. You also have the ones that do go at a slower pace and it releases the sugar gradually. So if you have diabetes, it's not straightforward. You can't always pick up which are the fast-paced ones and which are the slow-paced. You'll be surprised when you see the list. Your nice jacket potato acts like sugar when you have diabetes. Your nice jacket potato. Okay. Again, we are very aware of maybe the free sugars. These include the sugars that the manufacturers already put in the food that you're buying. It's nothing to do with you. They've already put it in. We call those the free sugars. Cooks do that, or consumers in manufacturers. And those naturally present in, like honey, which you know about, syrups, and it says unsweetened fruit juice. It's in the fruit juice as well. Okay. How much carbohydrate do we need to eat every day? As dietitians, we will work out that for you individually. We cannot give that information generally. It's worked out by looking at the gender of the person sitting in front of you. We look at your age, we look at your weight, and we look at your physical activity. Okay, so starchy foods, which your fruits and veg should probably contribute, is about 50% of your energy needs. Okay? Some people may prefer to get more of their calories from other food groups, which I mentioned, which is the protein. But again, you need to be extremely careful how you do that. For people with diabetes, I would need to make sure they have an idea about the glycemic index of food and drink. Okay. So again, I wouldn't go into this. This is really for people who have diabetes. Natural sugars, a lot of people would like to know what they are. They're known as fructose, and it's present in all types of whole fruit. Milk sugar, which is what the babies depend on when they're bored, this is known as lactose. It's present in milk and yogurts. Okay. So the recommendation is that we limit the sugar and sugary foods in our diet. We need to aim for 30 grams per day to address the increase in obesity and type 2 diabetes epidemic. You can enjoy, by the way, a small amount of sugar as part of your healthy diet, but choose sugar-free options where possible, if you can. I hope we can probably finish off with just these recommendations, because if I were to go on, it would take some time. Sugar should not play a significant role in our diets. As recommended by the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition, updated in 2015, 4 to 6 year olds should not be getting more than 19 grams per day. 7 to 10 year olds, 24 grams per day, which is 6 cubes. You know what the cubes look like? That's what the recommendation is. 11 plus, which is our age group, and over 30 grams per day, which is 7 cubes of sugar. I do propose at this time, because in light of the time, that there are other important things that we need to know about, and that would be your salt intake, which I mentioned earlier. We should be aiming for 6 grams of salt for the day, and no more than that. Because a lot of us from the Caribbean and from Africa, we are predisposed to diabetes, hypertension, and everything else that happened to us as a black race. So we need to start from young or younger to aim for not more than 6 grams a day of salt. I do also propose that we aim for our 5 portions of fruit and veg per day. However, this is contraindicated if you are predisposed to diabetes, cancer, and some other disease. The other thing that I need to mention is physical activity. When you do eat and you have diabetes and other problems with blood pressure, whatever it is, it's not just the diet that's going to help you. You do need to also do some form of activity. The minimal recommendation is 30 minutes per day of exercise, and it can be achieved through walking. You do not need to do it in one go. You can do it 10 minutes 3 times a day as a prescribed dose. 10 minutes 3 times a day is equal to 30 minutes. And in closing, I do recommend that we actually try and eat our regular meals throughout the day. Try not to starve yourselves. It's better to eat regularly, because whenever you get very hungry, the desire of your body is to crave sweet food. Or if you do eat, your carbohydrate portions are going to be 3 times the portion size. So my recommendation is that you do eat regular meals. What do I mean by that? You need to start the day on a good note like a king. Have a nice, lovely breakfast. At midday, you will eat like a queen. So you will try and eat not as big as a portion as your breakfast, but a smaller portion, but not as small as, well, the lunch will be small, but not, it's the evening meal that's even smaller because you eat like a pauper in the evenings. The reason for that is you and I, when we get home from work or whatever we do in the day, we end up sitting in front of the sofa, a lot of us, and we're not going anywhere to burn it. So that energy that you have just taken in will sit there until the next day when you start your day the next day. So it means you're accumulating all the fat, all the sugar, and you're not able to burn it. So you end up storing it as opposed to getting it burnt. Okay, and yes, Jen, before? Okay, so in all of what I've just talked about, I want to close by saying we need to be a healthy nation. We need to also think of our children and all family members that we have to live for them as long as we can. Our health, the health that we have is extremely important because when health fails, the money that you're working hard for means nothing. I've just experienced my mom's illness, and I can say to you today, I have no savings. Everything is gone because I want my mom to be alive. Money does not matter. Even if I had to walk down the street and beg someone for money, it would not be hard because I want my mom to be around. So I'm saying, you have your spouse, you have your children, it is really important to focus on having a good health because at the end of the day, no money can make you happy. And I just want to thank you for being a very good audience, and I hope you'll take on the recommendations as I have suggested them. Thank you.